Good day, good people. My name is Mr. Papaya. I was the one who took you forward. I know some of you were available for that class, some of you were not. So I'm just going to give you a few pointers and hints at what Microsoft Word is and what you are supposed to know for the course that we took. So I'm just going to start from the beginning because I always assume that we're all learning from the beginning. So I go to my start menu, I select Microsoft Word, and then it pops up and this is what we see. And then it tells us Word is not your default program for viewing or editing documents. Do you want to select file types that it should open? You can simply choose whatever you want to do because each element is not very different. But if you're opening Word for the very first time, you'd actually find that this area here is usually blank. But because I've got stuff that I've done or stuff that I've worked on, I can see new or recent documents that I've got. At the same time, I've got my home, I've got my new, I've got my open, I've got an account, feedback, and options. Okay, these are some of the things that we'll work with in Microsoft Word. But we want to have a blank Word document which looks like that. So I'm not sure which version of Word I've got, but it looks like it's a new version or it's a newer version. But whichever Word you've got, you can be able to follow along and get to see what Microsoft Word does. So we're going to try and compress some of the things that we spoke about, and I'll be showing you as we proceed that here are some of the things that you need to know. So for example, you need to know these sections here. We call this the toolbar, which is a toolbar which is a list of menus. So the first menu has our file, which takes us back to where we started off. Okay, we've got our home, which gives us all this information, our clipboard, our font, our paragraph, our styles. We've got our insert, which takes us to our pages, our tables, illustrations, add-ins, links, header and footer, text, symbols. We've got our design, which gives us a design of what we want. So it's simply our document formatting and our page background. We've also got our layout, which gives us our page setup, our paragraph, our arrange. We've got our references, which gives us our table of contents, footnotes, research, citations, captions, index, table of authorities. We've got our mailings, which gives us that. We've got our review, which gives us proofing, accessibility, language, comments, tracking, changes, compare, protect, etc. Okay, maybe let me go back to mailings because I sort of skipped through it. This is a whole process that we can actually go through, okay, where we start a mail merge, we insert fields, we preview results, we finish. We'll actually look at that in a second. We'll also go to review, which gives us proofing, accessibility, language, comments, tracking, changes, protect. Okay. We've got our views, page movement, show, zoom, macros, SharePoint properties, even how. Okay, so these are the elements that we can actually work with in our Microsoft Word. So basically what you're supposed to know is how to actually use Microsoft Word. Okay, so the first thing that we might need to do is the following. We need to know what our text does. Okay, as you can see on the side here where my mouse pointer currently is, we've got our headings, we've got our pages, we've got our results. We can create an interactive outline of your document. So if you want that, you can actually have that as part of your document. So I will just be putting some content as we proceed so that we see how this information works. Okay, So the first thing we need to do is have our text. So since I'm doing this and showing you, I will simply come to my internet and get some helpful hints that we'll need. Okay, the first thing that I need is lorem ipsum, so that I don't get to type some text. Okay, so I've got my lorem ipsum, which is just that, text. Okay, we've got something that looks like this. We can be able to actually put this in our content. Okay, I'm not sure why it's freezing, but okay, so let's say for example this is what we want. This would then be our text. Okay, so I can highlight that, copy it, I come to my document, I paste it. Okay, so in essence I've got my texts and it looks like that. Okay, maybe let's just put it back to the size that it was. I think let's get another section of texts. Can copy this as it is and I paste it there. Okay, so actually let's undo that. I just keep source formatting and that's what I've got. Okay, so what is this? This, we actually refer to this as a heading. Okay, which is why it's actually showing up on this side where we have headings, because I've just simply copied and pasted it, which then meant it is a heading, so it shows up on the left side. Okay, and then this, we call this a paragraph. So it's all our text that has been put in a paragraph, and I did this so that it becomes easier to know which element is which and how are we getting to specific elements. Okay, and then at the same time this text here has been formatted, and if I highlight, you can see that there's a B on the top there, which then means that's the formatting of the text. Okay, so we've got our heading, which is a type of a format. We've got our bold, which is also a type of a format, and this we find in this section here where it says font. Okay, so I can do the same with other portions of text. Let's say I select this typesetting, I highlight and I select it, I go to italic. Okay, it then changes this particular text that I've highlighted to italic, as you can see there. Okay, if I also want to highlight this text, okay, I can highlight typesetting, I go to A and B, and then I highlight that particular portion in text. If I select this section here, I can also put the ABC, where I then cross out the text. Okay, so ABC crosses out my text, B makes my text bold, italics makes my text slanted to the right. I can also do underlined, where it's this U here and then it underlines my text. That's how it pretty much works. So with our font, we can then be able to play around with certain aspects of it. So for example, I can also highlight typesetting. I click on A and then I choose a setting that I want. I can change my text to look like that. I can also highlight that A so that I change the color of the font or the color of the text. Okay, so this becomes part of how I can work with my text. Okay, I can also work with A increase or A decrease, where I can highlight that text, I select, and my text, the individual text, increases in size. Same goes for A minus. I can also reduce the size of my text. Okay, so that's one thing we can actually work with our text. Okay, there's one more thing that I think we can actually do. Let's come here. Okay, I select the first section, I go to insert, I go to texts, and then I select drop cap, I then select dropped. Okay, so drop cap simply changes the first letter of my text and it drops it a couple of lines. So I dropped it to 3 lines, and this is what it then looks like. I can play around with my text that way. At the same time, outside of this, I can also insert a text box like that. So with my text box, it already contains some text, but I can change it and put, this is a sample of my text box like that. So I can play around with my text and my content until I get something that I would want to be doing. Okay, so we have gone back to our home and we have almost sort of exhausted the font section. However, there is the paragraph section, there is the style section, there is the format painter and the clipboard. Okay, if you remember, I copied and pasted some stuff. Okay, so I can always work with the last content that I pasted. Okay, let's say the last content that I pasted is still stored somewhere. I can paste whatever I last copied on my page. However, what if I want to go through more content? Okay, I would have gone through my content based on what it is that I'm doing. Okay, yes, that's what I wanted to see. Sorry, I did not explain that. Let me go back to it again. Let's say you wanted to see all the information that you've copied. You simply come to your clipboard, you click on the bottom part, and then it shows you everything that you have copied, or the last thing that you've copied. So the last thing that is there is this one, which I have just pasted. So that is known as a clipboard. However, we can also be able to change certain things. Okay, so let's say I want to copy this as it is. I simply go to format painter, I then select a section that I want to do, and it actually puts the format that I would have copied. So in other words, it copies whatever is there previously, and then it pastes that content on a new section, on a new location. Okay, so this then means that if we work with that, we can now be able to actually use our format painter to paint any type of text in whichever method or mode that we would want to work with. So that then becomes our format painter. Okay, the other part is our cut. What our cut simply does, it's another option of our clipboard. I can simply select a section that I want. I then go to cut. It removes the content. It adds to the clipboard. I can come to a section that I want to paste. So I can then go to paste, and then I save whatever it is that I've got on the new location that I want to work with. So that is how our clipboard works. That is how our font works. We can look at our paragraph now. So with our paragraph section, there's many things that we would actually need to work with. For example, we've got these icons here. They are for alignment, where align left, center alignment, right alignment, and justified. Okay, what does this actually do? Okay, let's do it on different paragraphs. Let's say this paragraph here, we select the first alignment. You then see everything moves to the left. We select the next paragraph. We then select center. You then see that everything moves to the center. We select the next one. and then we put right alignment, and then it puts the text in that manner. We also select the last one, which is justify, so it literally doesn't change much, and that is our alignment for our paragraphs. However, we can also put spacing on our text, which is the next bit, which is this bit. Okay, if I click on it, you then see that the default spacing is 1. I can also make that spacing 2, so that the space between the text and between the two lines is slightly bigger than this particular side. So with my text spacing, I can then be able to shift whatever is available and change the spacing that is on the text. Okay, the next thing that is there is this one, which is our themes. Okay, I can then select some text and then choose a theme like that, whereby actually highlighting the entire paragraph and putting color to it. Okay, so that's pretty much what our themes do. Okay, from there I have the next one, which is my border. So I can select my text, I highlight, and then I put all borders like that, and then my paragraph now has borders. The next question you might have now is, what is the difference between putting borders and putting a text box? To be honest, there's really no difference. The only difference is when we put it to a paragraph, it then covers the whole space. When we put it as a text box, it gives us a small space that we can be able to work with, and it still gives us the same surrounding outline on our text. Okay. The next thing we also want to look at is indenting. Okay, I can select some text and then I indent once, but because I've got the whole paragraph selected, it indents the entire paragraph, not only the line that I've put. I can decrease indent, and then everything else in the paragraph goes to the left. So we've got left and right indent, which simply marks the entire paragraph and indents each line so that it goes to the left or to the right. Okay, the next bit is our numbering. Okay, so for our numbering and bullets, we do the following. Okay, let's say we've got 3 options. We've got left, right, and forward. Okay, these are the options that we've got, and we want to make them as options. So we simply highlight each word, we then select our bullets, and then we've got our content as bullets. However, we might not want bullets, we might want a different set of things. So red, blue, green. Okay, I can highlight the text and then choose 1, 2, and 3, and then I've got my numbers, I've got my bullets. However, at the same time, we can also have a mixture of the numbers or a mixture of the bullets. Okay, so how do we then do that? Let's say we want to further explain some of these things. So for example, with our colors, we then say primary color, variation 1, shade 1, like that. So we've got a primary color, we've got a variation, we've got a shade 1, and we want to make this a varied list. So all we simply do is we highlight this, we make our 1 2 3 4. Okay, we then want to restart the numbering so that we get the same effect there. And what we simply do is I go to my number 2, I press my tab and then it changes. I go to my number 2 again, I press the tab and it changes. I press tab again and then it changes. So there's a tab key on our keyboard which can help us do this. Maybe let me put an on-screen keyboard. So that you can be able to see some of the things that I'm talking about. Okay, so the tab key that I'm talking about is this one, and it's usually located in more or less the same location on your actual keyboard. Okay, so that is how we work with our lists. Okay, the next bit is our alphabet, or rather our sorting. Okay, we might have text that we want to sort. Okay, let's say we want to sort some text. For example, we want bean, add, sugar, tea, paper, bin. Okay, like that. So we've got these words which are pretty much random. Okay, there was no order that was done here. I can simply select my text and then I go for my A to Z, and then it then tells me the following: sort by paragraph. Okay, that's what I want. Ascending. Okay, then by, if we've got different options that we want to work with, I click on OK, and then it sorts my text in alphabetical order. So that is how we work with our sorting of the text. Okay, so since I want to add a few things here, let's proceed to some of the slightly more complex aspects of Word, so that I can get to cover as much as I can in this video. If needs be, I think I'll make another video. Okay, so as it stands, this is what we have actually come up with. Let me save this document and I'll share with you a link where you can have the content, or if you want, you can actually just follow on this video and do whatever it is that you will find possible. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to create a new document. Okay, on this document we want to be able to work with a mail merge. Okay, a mail merge is one option of working with Word, and let me save this as mail merge. Okay, so this helps you work with letters. Okay, so we need to go to mailings, and under mailings we start with the first bit. We want to work with envelopes or labels. Okay, but we don't want to work with any of those. We actually want to create a letter. So we go to start a mail merge, and then it tells us what do we want to do. We want to work with letters. Okay, that's fine. Since we want to work with letters, let's move on to the next bit. So you select the type of document that you want to work with, which is a letter. Then you go to select recipients. Okay, since I don't have any lists existing so far, I can simply go to type a new list, or if I've got Outlook contacts, I can actually use those contacts. So in some cases you might have Outlook contacts. In my case I don't, so I need to type a new list. Okay, so with my new entry, I'll then put the content that is here. Okay, so I need to put the first person, which is Mr. The name, the surname, address line, we need a city, we also need a country, and a phone. Okay, that then becomes the first individual. Let's put another individual. That's our second individual. We need a road again. We need a city. We also need a country, and we need a phone number. Okay, so we've got that. Maybe let's add one more individual. Okay, Harare, Zimbabwe, and we need a phone number. Okay, like that. So I can click on OK, and then I'm done. So when I'm done with that, it tells me to save the list. So I can say this is my sample list. I click on save. Okay, then we're good to go. So since we've got our recipients, we now need to write and insert our fields. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to put a address block. Okay, if I select an address block, it then shows me a format of what I will get to see. So the first element that I've got is Mr. John Banda. I've also got Miss Sharon Simango. I've got Mr. Peter Jones. Okay, so as long as I've got what I'm hoping to see, I can click on OK. Then I've got my address block. Okay, the next bit, I want a greeting line. So I select a greeting line. I've got it looking like that. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I can also add a merge field if I want. Okay, so maybe let's say I've got something that I don't already have. I think I can put a home for. Okay, then I start writing my text. If you remember, we said the last thing that we saved is what we can print. So let's just say that's our letter. We save, we paste it again, we paste it again. So now we have a letter. Okay, so now outside of this, if there's any extra content that you want to put, you can then be able to write and type your letter and do whatever it is that you want to see until it's done. The moment it's done, you can then go to preview results, and then automatically it then shows us the story or the content that is on each individual. So at individual number 2, we've got Miss Sharon, who stays at 23 Moacha Close, and that's in Harare. At number 1, we've got Mr. John Banda, who stays at 15 Court Road, Harare. At number 3, we've got Mr. Peter Jones, who stays at 14 Newboard Road, Harare. So this is how our mail merge works. So we can then click on finish if we are sure we're done, and then it tells us to either edit individual documents, print, or send email messages. So if we've got email messages, we can then be able to send these to the individuals that we have in our context. Okay, and for you guys, when you got your offer letters, this is something similar to how they then printed all your offer letters in your thousands. Okay, so that's how we work with our mail merge. Okay, the next thing we also want to do is, we have done this, we won't be able to see this in if I send this to you. So maybe what I can then do is I can just save this in the content folder, and then I save it as a PDF. I click on save, so that you can have a copy of what we were doing in this particular class. Okay, right, so this is what we've got for this particular document, and it actually just picked one individual. Okay, maybe let's go to the next individual, and we do the same. I save it as, maybe this becomes 2. So that you can see what we would have done. Okay, so the next thing we also want to look at is our insert. Okay, our insert simply works this way. We go to insert, and we've got different elements that we can put in our document. So let's work with all the elements, and we'll have a document that shows some of the things that we might want to work with, especially when we are actually doing research, etc. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to put a cover page. So I select cover page on pages. I then put a cover page that I think would look good. I select that one, and then that will then be my cover page. I can highlight here and change the title of the document. So let's say animal behavior. Okay, subtitle, study to see animal reaction to radio waves. Okay, author, we then put the name of the author, which is John Banda. Okay, that then becomes what would have inserted. And I can also put the year, which is 2021, like that. Okay, so this then becomes my cover page, because I've inserted it and I don't have a problem with what I've done. I can also insert a blank page. I think I need to go to the end of the page, and then I insert a blank page. Yeah, like that. We couldn't see it because of my view, so I had already inserted a blank page. My mistake. Okay, so the view is now better. We can now see what each element does. Okay, so at the same time, we can also say, since we've got this cover page, we want to now insert certain things to our page. Okay, so for example, we want to put a table of contents. Okay, we can come here to references, we insert, we select table of contents, and then it doesn't show us anything because we don't have something that we need to have a table of contents. Okay, so we need to figure out what that is. We also need to have the next element, which could be a table of figures. So I can select insert table of figures, we click on OK, and then it tells us no table of figures found. Okay, so that's still fine. We'll figure out how we do such thing. Okay, at the same time now we want to add some content. Okay, since we want to add content, we already had content in this particular format. So let's say this becomes the first element that I want to work with. I put it there and I pasted it without the rest of the content. Okay, So I highlight this, I go back to my home, I select a heading 1, and then that then becomes my heading 1. Okay, I paste it again. I select the next section, I make it a heading 1 again. I do the same, I paste. I'll just change this to suit everything else. I then put my heading 1. Okay, so now I've got my text with my headings and things like that. Okay, so outside of that, maybe let's insert, because we're still working with insert. We are just come here to see what styles do, but we're still working with insert. So I come after that first paragraph, I go to insert, I select table, I select contents of the table. So this is what I want to put in my table. I can also highlight and change the look of my table. So my table now looks like that. Okay, so that's one thing I can insert. I can also come after this, I go to insert, I select a shape. Let's say I pick that shape. Okay, let me do that so that my shape can be very visible. Okay, so I've got my table, I've got my shape, and that's what my shape looks like. I can also insert an extra element. Let's say it's a chart. I just pick a chart, click on OK. Okay, so that'll be fine. I don't need to change anything. Okay, so these then become my figures. So I can right click there, I insert caption, I make this a pointer, click on OK. I make this set caption, I make this a chart like that, click on OK, and then now I've got my figures. I can also label my table as well, also as a figure if I want to. I then make this table of values. Okay, so you should take note of some of the things that I've done. I've made sure I put my text, and with my text I made sure I made this a style of heading 1. I also put my table and my images, and I put these labels that are called captions. The reason why I did that is we had done two things here, the table of contents and the table of figures. Okay, so if I right click and then I go to update field, it then now actually picks the figures that I've got. So the table of values, the pointer, and the chart, which are the captions that I've put for each of these elements. At the same time, I can also go back to my table of contents, I right click, I go to update field, and then it takes my lorem ipsum and puts those as my titles. Okay, so this then means I've also put titles and table of contents for each element that we are dealing with. Okay, this then means I've got somewhat a working document, and I've seen how the document works and some of the things that are within the document. I think I've gone for quite a while with this. I will end this video here.